Good evening, everybody, man. This is the Philly, the city edition of Philly, the podcast, man. This is Swerve. This is Black, man. We're gonna talk NBA free agency, man. A lot of the moves that happened over the last week or so, man. And we're just gonna, kick back and just, have a discussion with y'all, man. So, Swerve, man. Let the people know who you are, man.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's your boy Swerve, simply Swerve, aka Fat James Harden, aka your mom's favorite stepchild. But no, we here. I ain't. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on. Life gets in the way a little bit. But we
Yeah.
here to discuss free agency, what's going on in the NBA, and whatever else y'all want to talk about that's listening right now. But I want to start by the trade that just came through when I was on my way up here in traffic. Atlanta Hawks acquiring, I'm going to say Murray, and not having to give up Collins, and they gave up three first round picks in the swap and Gallinari because Atlanta had to make that move. That's like the biggest move right now, and that's what we're going to start with. Atlanta making that move to acquire Murray. Um, it's a pretty big move. I mean, Atlanta 2 years ago, there's a season removed from playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, so they had to make a move. I mean, I definitely believe it makes them better. They kept Collins, who I think they're going to move eventually. They kept Trey Young. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, they kept Collins. They uh they kept Collins. They kept Trey Young. They kept Capella. They kept their core intact. Um, and they were able to acquire an all-star level player. Uh, Samuel Rowe, you say that trade is ass. Why is that trade ass? Just a question. Like I would love to hear why you feel like that trade is ass.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I want to
but
know too
I want
because
to know too. They were able to acquire an all-star level talent, mortgage in their future. You got to think they bet that they're going to be a top three team in the East for the next 5 years. So those draft picks are probably going to be in the late 20s anyway. And whatever you're getting in the late 20s is probably not going to be better than Murray. So the Atlanta definitely made a power move to start free agency. That's not even free agency. Free agency starts tomorrow, but Atlanta definitely made a power move in terms of making sure they're going to stay relevant with that young core for the next few years.
right. And then as far as the Spurs go, man, like if you're gonna keep it all the way funky, man. Like right now, the Spurs, what you saw from the Spurs last year, if they would have kept DeJounte, they would have had the same outcome going forward for the next 4 to 5 years.
Next four, yeah, it
And then you would
wasn't going
have lost him. Then you would have lost him in free agency altogether and got nothing back for him.
to,
I'm saying, Pop, you gotta understand this. It's different if you're talking about judging a Minnesota team or a Minnesota organization or a Sacramento organization or a Oklahoma City organization, or if you want to talk about what's going on up in Brooklyn, what I mean, you want to talk about what's going on in Houston, what I'm saying? Like it's too many examples of inept, you know,
front office.
organizations doing what they need to do. So
And
I understand Pop knowing, hey man, this situation isn't gonna go anywhere. We need to really start over from the
start to
bare
blow it up,
yep,
blow it up.
bare
But
ball.
also,
Yeah,
if it's any organization that's going to find gold in the late teens and 20s, it's going to be San Antonio because you have to look at uh, they got Kawhi at what they traded Kawhi. They traded Kawhi for who did the Pacers drafted Kawhi and traded him for George Hill maybe. So they swapped out Kawhi for George Hill. They got Ginobili in the second round. They found Tony Parker at the end of the first. So these guys they know what they have. They know what they're working with, and they felt like getting moving on from Murray. They didn't want to be the constant was that contender, but not a championship contender, but they didn't want to make the playoffs because I feel like in the NBA, like you either want to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams, or you want to be one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams. And if you're not the top 3 or 4, or you're not the bottom 3 or 4, you're just stuck in a Groundhog's Day because
Right,
you're going to be good enough to make the playoffs. You're not going to be good enough to make. You're not going to be good enough to win anything. You're going to keep ending up right outside the lottery, and you're not going to get that talent that you need to change your franchise.
right. And I want to address two things I saw. How did Brooklyn get lumped in with the rest of these guys? The reason why Brooklyn gets lumped in with the rest of those guys is because Brooklyn let one guy control their whole future almost up to the last 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hey,
the
and it's not
the
and it's not
organization. Hold on, hold on.
4 hours.
Yeah, the organizations are ran by the front offices. Granted, yes, we understand that players have some sort of control over things, but understand the situation that Kyrie Irving is in at this moment. He was upset about not getting the type of money he wanted or the contract he wanted to extend there in Brooklyn, right? So he was given permission to shop himself to all the 29 other teams in the league, and he had a list of 6 teams. None of those teams wanted him, and then the one team that he even thought that he was wanted to go to, they only had 6 million for him under the mid-level exception, right?
Right.
So they couldn't take him once, and so he, understand he's talking about he's for the people and all that, and understand, but that man's not going to take a $30 million haircut. And the other part of it is, if he were to take that $30 million haircut and sign for the mid-level exception, which is $6 million, right? He is the vice president of the National Basketball Players Association.
That
So
looks so
that
bad.
man, so that man taking a $30 million haircut hurts the other guys that are under him as in the Players Association. You understand what I'm
The
saying?
owners, the owners would have loved for him
Right.
to
And then the
sign with the
minute
Lakers.
and the minute he would have done that, they would this if not this summer, next summer would have came up for the uh bargaining agreement discussions, right? There would have been a lockout. They would
Yeah,
have been locked out to 2027 if he would have done that. And think about it. Understand the concept of what's really going on. We're here with these guys' money, right? You had the situation with Ben Simmons holding out and trying to, claiming the mental health and all that stuff, and still trying to get the $30 million back from the 76ers. And then the next summer, you have a guy that's going to take a $30 million cut to accept the mid-level exception from LA. Look, what I'm telling
and
you,
then and on top of that, you got John Wall, who ain't
sitting at
play. He
home,
sitting at home. He done play. He done played 80 games the last 3 seasons, and he just opted in for $40 million this year.
right? So yes, understand that's why Brooklyn is lumped in, because
Yeah.
they almost let a player destroy their whole setup. That's why.
And also, just because he re-signed with Brooklyn doesn't mean he's going to stay with Brooklyn. Like you have
Right.
to understand these players. Just because they opt in, don't mean that they're going to be on the team that they opt in with.
And
So
Brooklyn, and truth be told, Brooklyn don't want him either.
they don't want him.
They just
They
don't
don't.
want to. They just don't want to lose KD. They don't want to
Mhm.
lose Durant. That's what that's all about.
And they also knew that their best bet was to have him opt in and then try to move him rather than him leave and get nothing back,
Right.
because we've seen scenarios where a player leaves and they get nothing back when, like, we're looking at that with Jalen Brunson now. Like, if the Mavs knew Jalen Brunson was ready to move on, they should have just re-signed him for
They should have
whatever.
resigned him earlier this year. They could have did it this
Yeah,
year.
they could have did it this year, but if they knew Jalen Brunson was going to move on, they could have re-signed him and then traded him away to New York and got something in return instead of just letting it play out the way that is playing out. What's crazy is I didn't realize the market for Jalen Brunson was. Well, I don't really think there's a market for Jalen Brunson. I think the
There
Knicks are.
is. There
I
is.
mean, there is a market, but the way the Knicks are behaving, you would think Jalen Brunson is like the next. I don't know. I understand why he's leaving. His camp said he can't. They don't believe he's going to flourish under playing with Luca because Luca's that ball dominant, and I get it. Like I get that. But the market for Jalen Brunson, like Jay, get your money, young man. Get paid, young. Get paid.
So I'm trying to tell you, like I would like to see him in Miami, and that's a possibility because that's one of the teams he's granting a visit to.
Yeah,
Now, if you had to choose between going to New York
or
and going
Miami,
to Miami,
and then
I,
Miami could send Dallas some pieces back in return. Dallas could take Duncan Robinson back. Duncan Robinson will fit good in Dallas. I don't know who playing defense if you playing Luca and Duncan Robinson at the same time. I don't know
right,
who playing defense, but you could probably put Duncan Robinson in a couple other pieces. You could send Duncan Robinson and a couple other pieces to Dallas in exchange for Jalen Brunson. That
yeah,
might work.
yeah. Now, as far as Dejounte, I'll tell you Joseph Hudson's comment. And what's up, Joseph? Man, how's everything going? Dejounte is a bucket, no doubt. But the
He's
Sixers
not.
right now, I don't. If Harden wasn't here, I would consider it. However, at this point in time, you have Maxi man who's working every minute of the day, man. It's not a minute of the day this man's not working. Understand that, Harden, and we could talk about Harden for a minute. Harden was hurt the last couple years, man. I'm not condoning and I'm not making excuses for what his um his effort was in the Heat series.
It was disgusting.
It was disgusting at points. Yes, it was. However, I understand that man also was compromised by a hamstring that he hasn't been able to fully, you know,
Rest and heal
recuperate
properly.
for 2 years because
And
you got
who's
to
that to blame
understand,
on? Who does that point all the way back to? If we could
right?
blame Harden,
You can
wasn't
blame Kyrie
resting
because if
exactly.
Kyrie, if and how powers to their own, he chose not to take the COVID shot, but we ain't gonna get all too far into that. He chose not to take the COVID shot, which then forced Harden to have to start off the season when he really needed to sit out and recover from his hamstring that he had just tore 2 months
And
before that. Because you got to remember,
the season was extended,
the season was extended and then the season started
and then
back
started,
up
and
two
the
months
season,
later.
yeah.
2 months later, you know what I'm saying? So he had no time to rehab. You know what I'm saying? So you saw a compromised James Harden last year with a full full summer to recover and rehab. I expect you to at least see the Harden that showed up. I'm not talking about Harden in Houston. I'm talking about Harden, the Harden you saw when he first got to Brooklyn. I'm expecting that one to show up. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to understand how everything else is going to flow with the Sixers, but we'll get into it. So go ahead.
Yeah, so he's saying DeJounte would have been better, look for less money. DeJounte isn't a Maury guy. So let me ask you something, Joseph Hudson. I don't know what you do for a living, but let's say whatever you do for a living, one of your guys comes to your job and says, Joseph, I want to come work with you versus a guy that you don't know or haven't dealt with before. You're probably more than likely going to give the job to your guy. And that was what Morey did. Morey is familiar with James Harden. He's trying to build something here in Philadelphia around Embiid, and he believes that James Harden can be a complementary piece to Embiid. Let's not act like James Harden hasn't been the best shooting guard in the NBA for the last 7 years. He just had a down year. And if Harden on a down year was 22, 10, and 8, if that's a down year with a bum hamstring, and you're telling me he gets to rest up, rehab, and get in shape this year, I'm taking it. Harden, I don't care that he's 30 something years old. His game has never been about being explosive. His game has never been about being athletic. His game has been what his game is. And you can play that game until you're an old man. So
Right.
I'm fine with James Harden. I'm not going to say, oh, I'd rather have Murray, because if I said that, I'd be lying, because I believe James Harden is still the best shooting guard in the league. Bradley Beal is a really, really good shooting guard. Bradley Beal's younger, and that's probably the only shooting guard that I would consider taking over James Harden at this point in James Harden's career, which says a lot. I wouldn't take Booker. I wouldn't take Murray. I wouldn't take Clay. I wouldn't take any of those guys. The only guy I would consider taking over James Harden right now at the two guard is Bill. And then you have Maxi, who is really, really, really great and does a lot of the things that Murray does, and he does it for $20 million less than what Murray's making this season right now. Not 20, but something like that. So you have Maxi, who's playing next to Harden. You have Harden, who's going to be healthy. I don't want to hear about we could have got Murray, because Murray wasn't in play. The Spurs moved Murray because they're going to sign Aiden. If we're being honest, the Spurs are probably going to make a move to sign Aiden in the all season and build something down there that way.
Right. Right. So you look at, you understand, right, as we get, or we delve deeper into what the 76ers are doing this off season or this summer, um we really, I think there's a case to say that you can be very optimistic. I mean, look at the moves they made so far. You know what I'm saying? Like, at first the threat was that we assumed that James would opt into his $47 million option. He did not, right? And what is that thing trigger? Understand? Like, people for whatever reason, thought that James was selfish, that he would only think about taking his money, that he wouldn't do something that was team friendly, right? Vice people, and this is where you got to go back to the James and Kyrie discussion. One guy was deemed selfish, right? One guy was deemed selfish in that he didn't want to win. He was all about himself. He was all about strip clubs. He gets hurt. He his hamstrings compromised. He's going into an option year where he has a $47 million option. Everyone's saying he's going to opt in, so the team's not going to have enough wiggle room to make other rules. He fools everyone, not just some, everyone, and opts out so he can take a smaller salary and get more guys to win. Right now, vice what's happening in Brooklyn, where Kyrie played, what, he missed 123 games and only played 103 so far in Brooklyn. And all of the stuff he was talking and all that stuff, or about what he would do for other people and all that, what he would do for the team, he darn sure opted into his option,
Yeah,
right?
he definitely did. He
But
definitely
Harden,
did.
but Harden was the selfish one, right? So understand the situations at this point, man. You know what I mean? But go ahead, Mar.
No, I'm listening. No, I'm just listening. I'm letting you talk. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah, so you got to understand, the man wants to win. He understands, and it's okay as a man or as a woman to be humble and understand where you're at and what type of situation you are in your career, and how
Yeah,
the perception of you, because at that level and when you're making that amount of money, the perception matters. It doesn't matter. The perception doesn't matter if you're working at Arby's. The
yeah.
perception doesn't matter if you're a UPS worker. You know what I'm saying? When you're making big money, the perception is what it
And
is.
everybody's watching.
Everybody's watching you. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever been into the big executive offices and been in those meetings where money is being thrown around, millions of dollars. It doesn't necessarily matter whether it's sports. It could be infrastructure. It could be cybersecurity. It could be anything. But when you're in those
Everybody
rooms, when you're talking millions of dollars, yeah, if whatever the perception is, you better be sure it's good because your career rides on that. And I'm guaranteed the people that see Harden in a selfish light don't see him that way now because of what he did, vice what how they look at Kyrie right now.
and how everybody portrayed him,
Right,
and how everybody said, "Oh, it's no shot that he is going to turn." You know what? People pick and choose who they want to like,
right,
the media plays a huge part, and people get caught up repeating Skip Bayless trash ass or Nick Wright. They get caught up in repeating
right.
who they hear on TV without doing a lot of the research on their own, which everybody is guilty of that. Which everybody is guilty
Look, if
of that. And I mean, you got to look at certain things. Like you got to look at certain things.
uh,
Um,
real quick, I see Joseph's response. He says, "When you're making top tier cash, you better give top tier performance." Well, there's a caveat to that because right now the team is paying another guy worth $38 million a year, and he's not nearly playing at that level, and that's Tobias Harris.
yeah,
And I don't like to get into what people make because I want everybody to make their money. However, for for the contract he was given, would you say he's playing at a $40 million level?
yeah. Tobias Harris definitely isn't playing like a $40 million guy. And again,
People
like
he slides under the radar now. Yeah,
yeah, they trying to trade him, but who's going to take Tobias Harris in his
right.
$40 million contract?
He ain't John Wall.
No, he definitely ain't John Wall. He ain't never made an All Star game, which I think he should have last year.
Right,
And I think in LA I think he has two. He's been snubbed from the All Star team twice. I
right.
will give him that credit, but at the same time, uh, Tobias Harris make $40 million a year.
Yeah.
Michael, am I really going to give PJ Tucker $30 million for 3 years at age 37?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
he's a dog. Number one, 37 means nothing right now because we're in the age where Tom Brady is playing quarterback at 45. Tom Brady is literally going to be the starting quarterback of a championship contending team
Right.
at the age of 45, right?
But
So,
and then you're saying, oh, real quick, then you're saying that we're overpaying one guy. I understand how the money works, right? So the cap is going up another $15 million next year, right? That's one thing. And then when the new CBA is ratified, it's going to go up. The money from the revenue from TV and merchandise is going to raise it another 20 million. So that 3 million, that $30 million or that 10 million a year we're complaining about right now is a drop in the bucket,
it
really.
is. You
And
got
then,
to
and then on top of it, who's to say that PJ is going to be here at that third year?
And then you got guys like Alan Crabb that haven't played, like Alan Crabb and Tyler Johnson, and those guys were signing 4 year deals for $60 million just 3 or 4 years ago.
Right,
PJ Tucker he's a dog. He's going to bring toughness.
right.
He's going to defend, and he's going to knock down the corner three. He's what we thought Thibault was going to turn into and didn't.
But I will say this in Matisse's defense. There is still, I believe that what you don't want to do, and what you don't want to do is give up on him too early.
So,
And the reason why I say that is because maybe the reason I say that is because what if he's not like Ben, where there's a refusal to do anything that made you better other than
yeah.
defend. He I saw you know how they are with the off season videos and all that. But he is putting in the work, and at least you know that Matisse has attempted to take those shots
Yeah. In the
in,
game,
in the
he
game.
shot
And,
him in the game.
and the thing is, he was getting better. He was, and if you watch the games, Matisse was getting better as the season went on, and then the issue with the COVID shot came, which I am not going to give him a pass on that because he knew he needed both shots,
Yeah. And
and
I don't and
I'm
I
pretty
don't see
sure
the
before the
point.
shot they told him that, so I don't want to
Yeah.
hear it.
And I don't see the point of getting one and not getting the second one. Like that,
He
it just
knew because
that
his
made no
excuse,
sense.
yeah, his excuse to the media was I didn't know I had to get two shots.
Yeah.
So you took a shot right off top and didn't, and the doctors didn't tell you. I don't believe that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I just don't.
Mr. Normus, we're talking about NBA free agency tonight. Um, but I will address you and ask you, what about the Eagles do you want to discuss? I'll give you 5 minutes to talk about the Eagles, but this show is all about the NBA and free agency, which starts tomorrow. So if you post an Eagles question, I'm sure Black or myself will answer it
We'll answer it right. We'll
for
answer.
sure. But
We'll
right
give
now,
them
we're,
space, man.
we're discussing the NBA and free agency right now.
Do you
Michael,
think?
I think
Oh, go
I
ahead. Go ahead.
think the Hawks want the Hawks. I hate this and I hate using this term when people say, "Oh, this person or that person won the trade before a game is even played." But what I would like to say is that I think the Hawks definitely made the trade that made sense for their franchise. I'm not going to say who won or lost. I'm going to say both teams made trades that make sense for their franchise. Three
Right.
first rounders, Michael. Let's say Murray and Trey Young become really, really good, right? And let's say Murray and Trey Young, um, let's say Murray and Trey Young lead the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 out of the next 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So those picks are probably going to be 28, 27. Like who were the Hawks drafting? Who are the Hawks drafting at pick 26, 27, 28? That's better than Murray right now. So the Hawks did what they did. They needed to do to stay relevant because what the Hawks do, you have to understand. Atlanta's not a basketball city.
Right.
Atlanta, Atlanta's not a basketball city. The only time the Hawks are relevant is when they're good. So the Hawks caught fire. They're a year, 2 years removed from the Eastern Conference Finals. They made a move that they felt they needed to make sure their team would remain relevant. They
Right.
have three of the top 15 players. How old is Murray? 20, 25, if that.
Yeah. It might be. I think 23.
Yeah,
20,
so they have three of the top 15 players under 23 in the league right now. You have Collins, you have Young, you have Collins, and you have Murray. The Hawks definitely did what they needed to do to stay and remain relevant. And they got the bull. What's the redhead bull? Huter. They got Huter.
right.
The Hawks set themselves up to be successful long term.
Yeah.
And the Hawks made a good move. The Spurs decided they obviously showed that they want to go into a rebuild, and that's what they want to do. So the Hawks got um, picks, three future picks for him. Yes, the Hawks want to trade Collins, but
And
what
then
they're asking for Collins right now is a little bit steep.
you gotta look at the success of these first round picks now, man. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's like, "Oh, first round picks in the NBA are not first are not like first round picks that are in the NFL." Okay, they're just not, right? So you can pick a guy after and it's even it's worse now, right? Than it's ever been because if you're not picking within that the top 3 or 4 now,
Yeah,
it's a crapshoot.
it's a project. It's a project. It's a
Yeah,
project. It's
because
literally a project.
at least you know now. At least you know now, and you see it. At least you know now, right? How many guys have been picked that I can name off the top of of my head that are like, what's the guy? The guy that got picked They traded for Mikael Bridges, right? He's not even in the league. When you know what I'm saying? What's his name? I forgot his name. The Sixers pick. He's not even in the league anymore, right?
Who? The boy from Texas Tech that they
Right,
traded Kel Bridges for.
right.
What?
Gone. He's gone. Right.
Yeah,
Anthony. What is it? The other guy. He came from UNLV.
Anthony
Anthony.
Bennett. Anthony Bennett.
Anthony Bennett.
Anthony Bennett.
Pick number two in what
No, he
2014.
was number one. He was number
Number
one.
one. He was out of the league in 2 years.
Yes, Zaire Smith. Thank you, Elton. Shout out to E for watching. Zaire Smith. I was just going to say that. Zaire from Texas Tech. They traded Mikael Bridges for Zaire from Texas Tech.
Right.
Uh, Anthony Bennett went number one overall. Like
Right.
Anthony Bennett, that was a reach. Like the Cavs definitely reached for that one. But Zaire, like we said, the Hawks did right
Jackson, man.
because who you getting at 26, 27, 28 that's better than Murray.
Right.
Murray is definitely a sure thing. Murray we like Joseph posted Murray's a 20.9 rebound, 8 assist guy, right? And you're not getting a 20 point instant. You're not getting an instant 20 point. Even if you drafted a guy at 20 25 this year, and he's Maxi, like you got to let's look at Maxi. We got Maxi at 21, right?
Right.
Maxi is a Maxi's a steal because when they do those redraft reports 3 or 4 years from now, Maxi is definitely going to go top 5 or 6 in his class.
Right.
But even in the 2 years of progression, Maxi isn't a 20.9 rebound, 8 assist guy yet. So um, for what the Hawks gave up, for what the Hawks gave up,
Yeah.
it was definitely a great trade. No, Bennett wasn't the number one. That draft was probably the weakest draft we've seen in the last 15, 20 years. That draft was definitely weak, Elton.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Bennett's definitely garbage. Anyway, um, Mr. Enormous, you can eat a bag of Richards, 1,000 of them, one at a time or all together. That's basically how I feel about Cowboys and all their fans. Joseph, we're not even going to acknowledge him and his 6 this year.
It's
Because
been six. It's been six for 30 years.
Cowboys fans are they suck at life. Like I'm just going to take this time to address Cowboys fans.
Oh no.
Um, I remember middle school. It was really cool. Like they had their starter jackets, and Emmett Smith was cool, and Troy Aikman, the greatest game manager, the most overrated quarterback to ever play football, was around. You had Michael Irvin, and the Cowboys haven't won anything since they started drug testing. Because you
Right.
know why? Nobody ever caught Michael Irvin because you can't catch a crackhead. I mean, and I apologize, Mike, and I apologize to Eric Williams because Eric Williams, I was at the bar with Eric Williams the other day. But the Cowboys fans are the most delusional fan base in all of sports. Like all of sports, Cowboys fans are the most delusional fans in all of sports. So, what I need for us to do as Philadelphia fans, Eagles fans, I need us to ignore Cowboys fans because all they do is poke, poke, poke. You know why they poke at us? Because we finally won a Super Bowl. They can't make empty trophy jokes. They can't crack jokes. Now it's about, oh, we got 5. Yeah, you got 5 before drug testing. It's literally people like it's literally people like let me explain something to you. It's people who could not drink. It's people who I was in fifth. What Black? What grade was you in when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl? Because you had just started high school. I'm going to say because I remember
95.
in
It was like that was like
yeah,
95.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember it like like middle school, like middle school. No, Lane Johnson failed a test for PEDs. Michael Irvin smoked crack on the way to the game. There's a difference between doing PEDs and
And
smoking
make
crack.
Nate Newton was on the road to El Paso with 360 pounds.
360 pounds a week. Like, come on, fam.
But that's
Like
but we gonna get off.
Cowboys,
Yeah,
Cowboys fans suck at life.
we gonna get
And,
off from
and if
there, man.
you're a Cowboys, Yankees, Lakers fan, you definitely suck at life. But you know what? I want you guys to be great. I like Dak Prescott, even though he called a quarterback sneak with the game on the line. Um, and last time the Cowboys won, there wasn't even was the internet around, satellite TV.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know. Like I'm not going to talk about only time in the world. It's two times in the world where evolution doesn't matter. This is the only time. If you ask any man and any person in the world, you'd be like, "You want a 2022 Lexus?" They're gonna be like, "Yeah." You'd be like, "Yo,
bro, we're gonna move on from the
you want a
Cowboys.
You want a Galaxy 20? You want the new Galaxy or the new iPhone?" They'd be like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
You'd be like, "What's the greatest team ever?" The '95 Cowboys and the '96 Chicago Bulls. Get out of here, man. Nobody worried about the Cowboys. Nobody checking for the Cowboys. Nobody cares what Cowboys fans have to say. Your owner
yeah,
can't be the starter team, and until they realize that, we have no threats from the Cowboys. Mr. Enormous, thank you for tuning in. We're going back to NBA talk.
yeah.
Enjoy second place in the division. Have a great day.
Yeah, so I want to know what Bradley Bill is going to do. That's what I want to know. What is Bradley Bill going to do?
Um, well, like I said earlier with Kyrie, and that was just dressing Kyrie. Just because you opt in doesn't mean that you're there, and just because opted in, he opted in, right?
No, he opted out.
Or he opted out. Oh, I'm sorry, he opted out.
Yeah, he
So,
opted out.
he opted out, but he can still sign. In opting out, he could still sign a 5-year deal with the Wizards for more than he could get anywhere else. Correct?
Well, I mean, he can still get that fifth year. It just won't be the extra. I think 20 million. I think or 30 million. One of the two. Because when I look at the Wizards right now, man. Because I live 45 minutes away from them. Right. The fans down here don't really want Brad. They speak a good voice publicly, but when you talk to them privately, they don't want him like that. They would rather him leave because they look at it. They look at Brad. If Brad takes that 250, then the
They're
team
me.
the
They're
team
in
is
purgatory.
hamstrung.
They're
Right.
in purgatory. Like I said, like I said, you either want to be the top four or bottom four. You don't want to be anywhere in between. If Brad leaves, then that gives them a reason to tank and throw away the rest of the season. Right? It gives them a reason to tank and throw away the season.
And
Right?
then, hold on, real quick. Michael says if we had the chance to get Kyrie, would you give up Harris and Maxey? No, absolutely not. I would not. Um, I would not give up Maxey and Harris for Kyrie. I wouldn't.
I'm
If the,
Maxie's the future.
right, and I wouldn't, and that's counterproductive when Harden already left because of Kyrie. So I'm not bringing Kyrie here. Yeah, I mean, I love Kyrie's game. I don't like everything that comes with it. That's just the bottom line. Like it's like right now, man. Like let's say, and it's sad to say because I was a Kyrie supporter, and I
I'm a
still
huge Kyrie. I'm a huge Kyrie fan. I'm just not giving up Maxie.
yeah, and I still am to some point. But you got to understand this, man. Like every time something in the world happens, like let's say let's for just to kick it around, right? Let's say we took your choice and we decided to bring in Kyrie, right? I would be afraid if something happened in Peru, right? In Lima, Peru,
That man
that
gonna sit out.
yeah, if one of the volcanoes erupted and people passed away, would he leave? Would he take a plane to the eastern end of Peru and say, I need to be there for 3 weeks?
And I
I
need to
don't
take
want
care
that
of
type of headache on my. I don't want that type of headache on my team. I just don't. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. I don't want him. You know what I'm saying? And he's not worth the headache at this point. Great talent. You would love to learn basketball from him, but that's different from wanting him on your team. That's where I'm at with that.
I don't want no parts of Kyrie, and that hurts because I'm a huge Duke fan.
Yeah. No.
Uh, and I watched him play. Like, yeah, he's the greatest finisher at his size we've ever seen. He's arguably has the best handles in NBA history.
Yeah,
But,
it's
but
been bad.
Buddy is just a nut case. He's a head case, and we don't need Kyrie Irving in Philadelphia. Mister Enormous, you have a good night. Go Cowboys.
And
Um,
he's been bad. Yeah, he's been bad since Boston, man. Like something happened in that time frame that changed him. I don't know what it was, but
well,
whatever
I
it
think
is, it's not productive.
it
It's
ain't even the
not conducive
Boston.
to building a team, man. It's just not.
He that last year in Cleveland, he became his last little when he left Cleveland, he became like a big weirdo.
Yeah, like something happened. I don't know
Yeah,
what. I don't. I don't know if it's the Kalani thing. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know what it was, bro. But he just
Something triggered him.
he ain't been right since then.
He hasn't. He hasn't.
Yeah, but
But I'm not giving up Maxi. Like you have to give me something major to get rid of Maxi. Like Elton said, like he's a budding star and he's still on his rookie deal.
and he's the type of guy you want on your team.
And he's working and he's working and he's working. I'm not giving up Maxi. You have to give me something. Like I need a young stud. Like I maybe like a Devin Booker type situation. Like, but if I'm
It's got
not,
to
I'm
be a
not.
top five. It's got to be a top 10 guy at this point.
Yeah, and he got to be under 20. He got to be under 26. Like,
Right.
I'm not giving up a 21-year-old Maxi for a 30-year-old Kyrie. Like, you got to give me somebody young
Who you
and
don't
up.
even know is going to show up, man. That man, that man might say he needed to go to church, and then
Yeah,
he'll be back on Tuesday. But we got a
yeah,
game on Monday night. No,
yeah.
I ain't
The price of gas is so high. I need to sit down and think about how I'm going to get to the game tonight. Like nobody dealing with that goofy. Nobody dealing with that goofy nonsense. Like
but
no,
I will tell you this, that I'm very optimistic about what Maury is doing right now. He's understanding that he needed to get more athletic in regards to the wings when he got Melton. Hopefully, he needed the thing that the team needed besides that was one, they needed a bench. Number one.
yeah.
The number two, they needed some
Tough.
toughness,
They
man.
needed toughness.
Yeah, because outside they just didn't have it. Like you saw a little bit of toughness from Niang. You saw some toughness from Joel, but you didn't. Outside of that, that was it. You didn't know
Yeah,
you didn't have any dogs like ready to ride, man. And you need that. No one's talking about guys that okay, we're gonna fight, but you want guys that is gonna stand up for you. Like if you go and knock Joel down and it's unnecessary, you need somebody in that other man's face who did it.
yeah. Who lets you know? Like I'm willing to get tossed out this game to prove to you that to let you know that you're not getting ready to do this.
Right. And then like you said, what is the identity of the city? One, team number two, because the identity of the team reflects the city.
PJ Tucker will fit in fine. He's
Fine
going to be the perfect
in
fit.
Philadelphia, no doubt.
He,
Absolutely.
yeah, he's definitely PJ Tucker is going to fit in fine, and I'm going to get PJ Tucker to come on the show. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to get PJ Tucker on here just
Yeah,
because he fits in fine. I don't care if he was 42. Guess what's not great happen? Y'all not great. Keep fouling and Beeve and knocking them on the floor the way y'all do.
right. You
And
not
Harden is this man too. Y'all not great. Keep beating up on Harden the way y'all keep beating up on Harden. Like you need a dog. You need somebody who tough. Why you think Miami keeping Udonis Haslam on the roster?
to not from them bumps in the back of his head.
Mm-mm. Like he the guy that can situations get out of control. You put UD in the
Puts him
game
back
for
in
a
line.
minute, and you let him. Let the guys know
Hey,
like
hey, he was about to lump up Jimmy right before
yeah
the end of the year.
before the playoff. Like
Yeah,
you need toughness. You need a veteran. You need those things on your roster.
right.
Uh, I'm looking at. We talked about Bill who opted out. You got PJ Tucker. Uh, who else is unrestricted?
Ooh,
Gary Harris unrestricted, right?
no, he's still under contract. I think.
Is he under contract?
I think he's still under contract, but I would love to see him in a Sixers uniform.
No, he's unrestricted.
He's unrestricted.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the list of unrestricted free agents as of tonight. James Harden, John Wall, Bradley Bill, Gary Harris, Zach Levine,
Yeah,
Ricky
he's still.
Rubio,
Yeah,
Iguodala, Thaddeus Young, Joe Ingles, Prince, Nurkic, T.J. Warren, Jeremy Lamb, Aiton, Ibaka, Montrell Harris, Derek Jones, Delon Wright, Kyle Anderson, Marvin Bagley, and Tyrus Jones are the top. Thomas Bryant and P.J. Tucker are the top
you
20.
know
I'm
who
pretty
I
sure.
would. You okay? So that's one I wanted to talk about, the Aiton issue, because I don't care what Monty's saying. I don't care what CP3 is saying, and I don't care what Booker's saying. They lost that series because they refused to give Aiton the ball. Because I mean, I'm like, look at it, man. You have Aiton being guarded by Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber, and they wouldn't even pass him the ball. So my man got upset, went to the coach, which he should, and say, "Hey, I need
I
the
got a
ball."
mismatch. I got a mismatch.
The coach responds by sitting him for the last 45, the last 35 minutes of the game.
Bruh.
You understand? You know what I mean? But you understand, like,
Bruh. Ain't no way. I'm not saying Aiton is 2001 Shaq, but I'm saying you at least got to give him the touches against those matchups and
yeah,
see
yeah.
what. Yeah, and
Because they were getting shut down on the perimeter
if
because
I'm
they
eight,
because Dallas knew they weren't going to him.
they weren't going to him. It's no. I can guard you with whoever I want to guard you with because they're not even looking your way at this point.
Yeah, it was tough, man. I'm sitting there like, look,
So,
lose Aiton, and see what happened to Phoenix.
bruh,
Ain't nobody thinking about Brooklyn, bro.
nah.
Not even that's the end of that story. But back, but but they shit. You know how they down bad right now. Nobody care about them people, man. But back to
Yes,
eight.
I like St. John's in the 7 game series. St. John's is the best team in New York. I don't care if they play the Knicks or Brooklyn. I got St. John's in 7.
Yeah, man. Like, look, I ain't talking about nobody that got swept in the first round, cuz.
I don't even know if St. John's got a team anymore, but I
It was
like.
so fast. Like every time Brooklyn was on the TV, I probably every each I kid you not, each game they was on they was on, I was always going somewhere to eat, and then by the time I would come home, it's
They
still
were against.
like Boston was up 2-0, I went to go out to eat 2 days later. I came home, they was down 3-0.
Yo, Brooklyn ain't had a team for 2 decades.
Hey man, hey, what? Come
Okay,
on, bro.
New Jersey Nets, the New Jersey Kerry Kittle, Michael Cage, and Jason Williams.
Ain't no Mary.
Yo,
That's a fact, Jack. What you talking
Joe.
We really don't want to have that.
Do
We
you
really
realize
don't want to have that conversation.
the
We
Nets
really
traded
don't
away
want
they traded away 8 first round picks for a washed up Kevin Garnett. They traded they traded they
Joe
traded draft
Johnson,
picks for Kevin Garnett,
Joe
Paul
Johnson
Pierce,
too.
Darren Williams, and Joe Johnson. They
Just
traded
to get,
away their whole future. They traded away the whole future to get
just
Joe
for
Johnson, Darren Williams, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce just for
that,
LeBron.
that
Just
hurt.
for LeBron.
Hey, that hurt his soul, man. These
Just just for LeBron. Just for
that's
LeBron.
he escorted him right back out of the
He
building like
said
they didn't belong there.
he said he said, oh, you traded away 19 first round picks for these dudes.
Dog, look,
Traded
hey,
away 19 first round. Kevin Garnett was 122 years old. They
hey,
traded Paul
hey,
Pierce.
wait,
LeBron scored 1,000 points on Paul Pierce.
hey, I ordered a pair of shoes on a Sunday. They got here at the same time. They got here at the same time. The Nets was out the playoffs.
My man,
What's going?
you
That was
traded for
that was
Darren Williams, Joe Johnson. You traded for a big three team. They traded 19 first round picks for a big three team.
I never seen.
They,
I kid you not. I can go over here. And,
Biggie was rolling over in his grave. He said, "Y'all
hey,
traded."
hey, wait. You remember the day? The Kobe's, the Kobe and the Gigi's came out on a Saturday, right? I got my shoes. I kid you not. I came home and my shoes was in my front yard, and and the Nets was already out the playoffs.
Bruh, they traded. Hey, yo, look. You had Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce, right?
Hey,
The Nets traded away. The, the Nets didn't have a draft pick for 6 years.
got nothing else to talk about.
The draft was in Brooklyn. The draft was in Brooklyn, and the Nets didn't even show up because
Hey,
they didn't even have a pick.
hey,
They didn't even have
those
a
gender. He
they
got.
didn't even, they didn't even have a pick. Come on, man.
Take this man seriously, man.
The Nets,
He talking to me about the.
they got a big three team. Like Joe Johnson, the MVP of the big three.
Oh, oh
Yo,
my
Al Horford, out with nobody wasting Horford. Horford, that was a bad signing. Horford was a bad signing. Horford, oh, that man out there playing in the I Call the Police
everybody.
3. Like
Hey,
Al Horford went to the finals. Congratulations,
everybody. Let me
Al
put it
Horford.
this way: everybody that started. Wait, I'm gonna end this with this, right? I'm gonna end this conversation about the Nets with this. Everybody that was in the Nets starting five the year before KD and Harden and Kyrie got there won a game in the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
How come the Nets couldn't win one game?
because KD wouldn't get a haircut.
But we not gonna talk about you know what, since Mr. Castro wanted to bring that up.
But
How come all five guys that was on the team the year before the Nets got KD and Kyrie won a playoff game this year? Like they got rid of Spencer Dinwiddie. He was in the Western Conference Finals, right? Was he not?
yes,
You know what I'm saying? Like D'Angelo Russell. Did he not win a playoff game this year?
he balled out this year.
What's his name? Big Fro, man. What's the big Allen?
Jared
Allen.
Allen.
He won a playoff game this year, right? He was in the playoff. He won one playing game.
Yeah,
But that's a playoff game, right?
yeah, that's considered a playoff game.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we not gonna sit here and waste our time talking to a guy that wasted a whole franchise right now.
Um,
It's not gonna make sense.
we can't get past the second round. You're right, Joe. We
You're
can't
right,
get past the second round.
but you got to get past the first round to get to
I
the
get
second
it. Yeah,
round.
you got it. But that's what I'm
You got
about
to
to
win a
say.
game in the. Hey, we accomplished one thing. You got to win the game in the first round.
You got to win the first round game to get into the
One
second
first round
round.
game.
You have to win the first round game to get into the second round.
they got they got swept out of it by Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart, like y'all got two. You have two of the top 10 players in the world and couldn't
hey,
get out of the first round.
hey,
Like I'm
hey,
not Sixers
look, y'all.
mediocre.
We just watched. Hold on. We just watched Jason Tatum turn over the ball 100 times in the playoffs. But you know what is true? He didn't turn that ball over once against the Nets.
He didn't. You know what's crazy? Jalen Brown. Jalen Brown averaged 26 points against the Nets.
We're not going to talk about that, huh?
I mean, as long, as long as Ellen DeGeneres out there coaching the Nets, they probably won't be successful. And
Hey,
y'all hire Ellen DeGeneres to coach.
ooh,
We lost to Miami. Who
yeah,
y'all lost
the
to?
team who was in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, we y'all lost to Brooklyn. I mean, y'all lost to the Boston. That's because Ellen DeGeneres don't know basketball. Ellen DeGeneres is a two-time MVP. Over and look, and this is painful. This is painful.
Look at Joseph. He said the Nets left Jersey to play like they in Sacramento.
That's because y'all Ellen DeGeneres out here living off them two MVPs that Kobe fans swear belong to him.
Hey,
And man,
this man, he really hyped
no,
them.
you sound hurt, sir.
That was hurt. That man hurt as hell. His team got swept. He couldn't
You,
even talk about a win because they didn't get one.
you, you didn't even you can't you hating you didn't even get a win this year. You didn't even get a win this year, man. Like y'all really
Yeah, dog.
they they changed the rules in New York so Kyrie could play in the
Right.
playoffs,
And that
and
man
then
didn't even get a win.
they still didn't get a win in the playoffs. Like
they brought they brought Ben Simmons in there just to take just to
man,
just to go to the OBGYN.
y'all got a $30 million cheerleader from Australia.
That man got a pap smear and sat on the bench to watch y'all get swept right out the playoff.
And Embiid should have been the MVP this year. Like if you're gonna tell me Embiid shouldn't have been the MVP, that's just pure hate.
Yeah,
Guess
that's
what?
you know how
Hey
you
Joe,
know how you got that lump in the back of your throat when you know you just lost. that's that.
Brooklyn traded for a dude that has the same stats as you and I, and thought he was gonna make a difference this year.
That man. Hey,
Ben Simmons out there looking like me right now.
Ben,
Guess what? I
hey,
got
hey, Joe got more airtime than Ben did
hey,
this year.
hey, Joe. You more popular in Brooklyn than Ben Simmons, right? You, I bet you, if you and Ben Simmons was in line at a club right now, they would let you in before they let Ben Simmons in.
He said he was dressed in designer while they was getting curbs.
Ben was up playing 2K. Every time Brooklyn lost, Ben went and played 2K versus the Celtics.
Oh, like we literally we. Hey man, like Brooklyn is
Hey,
so garbage. And
and I respect it,
I be
Joe,
trying to
because
keep it again because
I, be, I respect it because I respect your Penn State fandom. I respect your Eagles fandom. I
yeah,
don't
but
like your
hey,
Yankees fandom.
this
But
this
we
this
gonna disagree
conversation.
about this one. We gonna definitely have to disagree about this one.
Ellen,
You got Ellen
this
DeGeneres.
conversation ain't for you.
You you got Mister Don't Get a Haircut. as your star player. You got Ellen DeGeneres as the coach, and you got Dr. Sebi with a layup package who
Hey,
don't know if he's showing up for work or not. Man,
you talking about we should have made it further than the second, bruh. Y'all was done in the span of it was a week and a half, and y'all went home. Y'all, all y'all did was take the subway twice, and y'all was out the playoffs.
yeah, I put my I had a DiGiorno. I put it in the oven, and by the time that DiGiorno was done cooking,
Hey,
Brooklyn was out the playoffs.
hey, you know what was worse, right? Like E said, man. Like E said, right? Ben, Ben looked at that. Was looking at them scores on Bleacher Report, bro.
He was like,
That
"Nah,
nigga
I'm
was
cool."
like, "I'm not coming to play with this." You
He
know what
was
I'm saying?
like,
I'm not coming to play with them. Why?
he was like,
What? We, you know, they tried to make him play after game
he
two.
was like, he was
Ben
like,
was like,
"Nah, nah." He said,
we.
"Y'all go too." He was like, "Shh."
Ben
Andre
was like,
Drummond checked out. He was like,
hey,
"We didn't."
Ben, Ben raised his hand, was like, what?
Ben,
Nah.
ben was like, "Oh, fan, I showed up late. I don't even know what. I don't even know what's going on. Like, what happened? What's going
Ben
on
looked
here?"
like he went. Ben went like he looked like he was shopping at Pier One.
Yeah. He said, "Man, look,
They
I
got
just
swept
got here.
so fast. That
They got their own
sweeping,
too."
that sweeping was so fast. It wasn't
This
even.
shit, hold up. I just got here.
Ben was like, Ben said they didn't have the proper size jersey for him to play in, so he was like, I can't play.
Them was like, "You people, what you mean by you people, fam?
That
I
man said,
need to
nah, we good.
we,
Y'all, not we,
y'all,
y'all got it.
y'all out here getting sweat." Yeah,
Joe,
shit. I had 33 kills on Call of Duty before I came here.
Joe, Joe, they brought, hey, they came in and executed a quick sweep of that team.
Hey, Boston, Boston had Boston didn't even believe in themselves. Boston didn't even believe in themselves till they beat the Nets the way they did.
No,
Like,
they saw the Nets. It was like they was like flawless win.
and somewhere Danny Ainge was smiling the whole time because
Whew,
he said,
my
I
shoulder
got
hurt.
I got 19 first round picks out these dudes for
And then Joe come up on here. Just, yeah, you gonna defend that trash like it was gonna move something.
Sean Marks.
You know better,
I mean,
man. You know
I
Joe
mean,
know better than that,
I
bro.
like Kyrie.
Yeah,
And
we
you know
all
what?
do.
I mean, when we get Andre Drummond back, we gonna get Andre Drummond back, right?
We all do, man. Like we all do.
Yeah, I can't.
We all do, bro. Like we all love Kyrie, man. But it's not about love. It's about what have you done for me lately as a team, right? And that man has done nothing but cause trouble. And then they compromise, and then the Nets. And this is why I keep saying, okay, he said, well, the Nets are a good organization. Then you compound that. You saw that bit, regardless of what you may think about James, you saw that he wanted to get away from Kyrie. So then, not only did you trade James for Ben, you traded James for another problem and brought him to another problem.
You
Like,
you
what
traded
sense does that make?
you traded you traded
Even if it wasn't
James.
Philadelphia, what sense does that make?
You traded Ben Simmons. You traded for Ben Simmons, who couldn't handle Philadelphia. Like and this is just me
Yeah,
being real, right? It's only two. If you can't handle Philadelphia, it's two places that you don't want to go if you can't handle Philadelphia: New York and L.A. So
yeah.
you traded a dude who can't handle Philadelphia and brought him to New York,
New
right?
York. And it is
Um,
though. And the thing is, like, you understand. I read, you obviously we all read, but him getting into it with Stephen A. Smith and all them folks, bro. Don't nobody care about that. All these folks want. All we want as basketball fans is to see you hoop.
Yeah,
All the other charitable things you do, great.
we
All the other
appreciate it.
back and forth, you thinking the earth is flat, great, bruh.
Yeah,
We
cool.
only care about what's in between those basketball lines and you hooping.
94 feet. I want you to.
We're not
What are you
mentioning
doing
that.
on that 94
We're
feet?
not doing no 94 feet because that brings back
Oh,
when
okay. But I'm just saying the
that's
basketball
flat.
court 90 feet, 94 feet.
Yeah,
I got you. I mean, I
yeah,
just and like I respect athletes for like I defend athletes, and I have this conversation with regular dudes who be like,
yeah,
"Oh, they play a game for King's ransom." It's their job, like it's their
right.
job, right?
Do your job, bro. That's all people asking you to do.
Do
Show
your
up and
job. You
hoop.
can have whatever political opinion, whatever you feel like is going on with the world. We can chat about that, but
Right.
don't let it affect your job. Like I can't take
Yeah,
two
that's the
weeks
real.
off from my job because uh for whatever reason that I feel upset me. And I love Kyrie. Like I think, like I said, Kyrie is so talented. He's just a nutcase. But that's it. I mean, we've seen it. Ron Artest was talented, and he was a nutcase.
But you
But
knew,
but
but you knew he was a
but
rider
you
though. You know what
but
I'm
you knew.
saying?
And like I'm saying, like people be talking about that Kobe team, like Kobe didn't have help, like Kobe didn't go 6 for 24 in Game 7 of the finals, and y'all want to talk about how clutch he is, but he was really 6 for
Yeah,
24. But Paul Gasol had 18 points, 19 rebounds, and
another
Artest had 20 points in that game. But that's a whole nother story. But I'm
yeah.
just throwing that out there for all these dudes who try to, you know, I'm gonna say this too because that just took me to another note, right? If everybody's doing these top 10 lists and they want to see where Curry fits and if Curry has can't become a top 10 player of all time history and whatnot. And I watched Skip and Shannon talk, and both of their lists were stupid. I respected Shannon's a little more, and I didn't respect Skip's because Skip had LeBron at 8,
Yeah,
and I don't care if you love or hate LeBron. But to have LeBron at 8 is totally disrespecting the game, disrespectful to the game of basketball.
that's biased, man. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
know, I know, but like
Once I figure these folks out, to tell you the truth, I don't even watch them because
I know. I mean,
this
I
is not
just look
real.
at the list, like because I look at certain things.
Yeah,
Steph Curry, congratulations. I said the Warriors. I said it was going to be if James Harden got healthy. I thought it would be a Philadelphia Golden State final. James Harden wasn't healthy, so you guys got Boston. Congratulations to Steph. I'm going to give Steph his flowers. Wow, Steph is the greatest shooter we've ever seen. Steph is he's a point guard, but he's a point guard who isn't asked to facilitate. Like people are saying he isn't a point guard. Steph is a point guard. He's a point guard. He isn't asked to facilitate
yeah,
our the offense all the time. So stop finding reasons to hate on Steph or knock Steph because Steph is an amazing talent. He's
right.
a generational talent. Um, and he's definitely one of the greatest players we've ever seen.
And this other
Especially
thing is, stop taking. I'm gonna say this, it ain't a dig on nobody, you know what I'm saying, but stop taking these national guys' words as gospel, right? Because it's not. But also, out in in conjunction with that, don't listen to people who only tell you one side of the story
well,
either. You know what I'm saying? And if you want, and this is a plug for Philly the podcast, Philly the city, myself, Marv, um, um, Joe, and Brandon, and we're gonna have more people on, so don't worry about that. But don't listen to people who don't grab your imagination, but you can listen to. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna feed you no BS. Ain't gonna have no bias take. Ain't gonna let you explain what your vision is. That's what we doing over here. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like all that other mess that's out there, you can and you can do the research and get the facts for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's out there. It's all available to you. You don't
Like
have to swallow this BS.
yeah,
Don't.
like anybody, like anybody. I'm gonna be real with you. Like Kareem, Mike, and LeBron are the three greatest players in my eyes to ever play basketball.
Yep.
You can have them in whatever order. I
And
just think
Bill.
like
Bill too.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I'm gonna say like Bill, Walt, Will, Magic, and Bird. Like there's a list I have.
Right. Yeah.
But I think like in my eyes, Kareem, LeBron, and Mike are the greatest three basketball players to ever play basketball. So I look at LeBron's competition versus Kareem's and Mike's, and I'd be like, LeBron plays in the most competitive era between the three. I believe LeBron is the greatest athlete to play basketball because he's in an era where everybody, like Mike was in an era where he was being guarded by the Judd Bushlers and Craig Elos and the Hershey Hawkins and the Jeff Hornaceks.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, just imagine LeBron being guarded by Jeff Hornacek, Hershey Hawkins in an era where you had to play one-on-one basketball with no double teams being allowed. LeBron would average 45 in the 90s.
And I hold on real quick. I'm wanted to address Joseph's response or question. He says, "You say Harden was not healthy, but Embiid told the national media on national TV that Harden is not who he used to be, and he didn't attribute any of Harden. Well, you gotta understand the person. Um, Joel is Joel, right? But I mean, it's easy, and this is a part of understanding, as a team, right? As a team, as a leader, this is a part of Joel learning to grow as a leader. And I say that because, right, he said that to the media. However, Joel is not without warts in his game either, right?
Man,
And
miss,
see, the thing is though, yes, he played hard, man. He was tough. He tough through a lot of things. However, there are a lot of times where Joel doesn't play when he has a crazy advantage on a team. Instead of him going in the paint
he sits at the 3 point line.
as a 3 point line, right? And a part of why, and I understand that he was hurt, but it was easier for Miami or at the time um a Toronto team, or you've seen this in the past, for folks to guard him because he won't go in the paint.
Yeah,
He won't go in the paint. So guess what? Teams can do. We already know that the 76ers are compromised at their
because
guard.
Ben
Right,
Simmons wouldn't shoot.
right. So guess what? They're going to. If we know you're not going to come past the free throw line, I don't need to guard anything out there, right? So he has to take ownership and
Of his
accountability for his mistakes as a player. Also, get your behind in the paint.
post up. I think part of
Right.
that's coaching.
A lot of his injuries, you notice a lot of the injuries he has are because he's not in the paint. The one time he got hurt that he was in the paint was the dunk that he had against Washington before the end of the season.
For the yeah,
Right. That, what I'm saying? Like the one time he got hurt out, the one time he was in the paint, he got hurt was the one injury he had against Washington. But all the other times he's gotten hurt, it's been on the perimeter.
yeah.
So take it behind in the paint.
Post up. But I think part of that's coaching. I'm not gonna put it all
Yeah.
on him. But
Yeah.
like Joel can't. Joel has to. He called out Harden, but again, I think it's a lot. It's a bigger. It's bigger than what we think it is. It's we at 115 right now. We can
Oh yeah. So we
we're
got
gonna
we
cut
got
it
four
off.
more minutes.
We're gonna cut it off, and then we'll get together this weekend again for another show. Joseph, Elton, everybody else who tuned in, Mr. Enormous, everybody else who tuned in and chatted with
Yeah.
us and busted up. We appreciate the love. This is Philly, the city.
Yep.
Philly, the podcast. Shout out to my man Black Marcus. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Joe, who probably Joe punching the air like Drake
Oh,
because
he hot right now.
He saw this
You know he
Brooklyn
hot.
comments.
You know he
You
gonna
know
come
what?
back in the group chat and be hot.
I know he great cuss us out in the group
Don't
chat.
worry, I'll be asleep by then. I ain't even listen to it. I probably read it. I probably read it on the way to the farmer's
Man,
market, picking up my meat for the grill.
y'all don't understand Joe is the way he rep the Eagles is the way he rep Brooklyn, and that's why we here because he know we Sixers all day. But thank y'all for tuning in, and I'm gonna make sure that we see y'all this weekend. Black and I want to get Joe on. Maybe we talk some Eagles. We just do all around sports talk. But I
Yeah.
want to get y'all on this week. Brandon, shout out to Brandon. He's doing the family thing, but I appreciate the love, and I'm
Yeah.
out.
All right, man. Later.